Subscribe to my YouTube channel, share it with your friends, and comment your thoughts. Rena had never missed a flight in her life. She was the kind of woman who arrived 2 hours early, organized her boarding pass in a zippered pouch, and brought her own snacks in tiny labeled containers. Life didn't often surprise her, and when it did, she didn't let it derail her routine. Until today, the gate attendant at Terminal 47 had just made the final call for Flight 268 to Dallas. Passengers were pushing ahead, eager to find their seats, some carrying briefcases, others with neck pillows slung around their shoulders. The sky outside was unusually clear. It felt like one of those uneventful travel days. Rena was third in line, just steps from scanning her pass. That's when it happened. Her phone buzzed in her hand. A new message had appeared, short and sharp. Don't get on the flight. No name, no number, just unknown sender. She froze. The person behind her bumped her slightly. "Miss, are you going?" She blinked, her heart racing. Her first thought was that it was a scam. The second was that it was someone playing a sick joke. She glanced around but saw no one paying attention to her. Don't get on the flight. Her instincts wavered. She'd felt strange all morning, a weird pressure behind her eyes, like something was watching her. She tried to brush the thought off. Maybe it was just nerves. She hadn't flown since her mom passed away 6 months ago. The gate agent repeated loudly, "Final call for Flight 268. Doors will close in 1 minute." She shook her head and stepped forward. She wasn't going to let paranoia control her. That's when she saw him. An elderly man, in a worn brown coat and a faded cap that read "Career Veteran" in gold thread, stood about 15 feet to her left. He looked lost, squinting at the signs above the gate. His right hand clutched a suitcase far too heavy for his frail frame. His left hand trembled slightly as he tried to steady himself against the wall. People passed him like he didn't exist. Rena hesitated. The agent extended her hand. "Mom!" She looked at the old man again. His fingers slipped from the suitcase handle. The bag toppled sideways. No one even flinched. "Hold on," Rena whispered. She turned away from the gate, stepped out of line, and walked toward the man. "Sir, are you all right?" He looked up, eyes watery but kind. I think I got confused. Gate 47, right?" She nodded. "Yes, that's this one. Here. Let me help you." He resisted at first, shaking his head. No, I'll manage." But she gently took the bag. "Anyway, you don't have to." Together, they walked slowly toward the gate. She showed the agent his boarding pass, helped him scan it, and then made sure he got down the jet bridge safely. He insisted she didn't have to go further, so she stayed near the entrance until she saw a flight attendant guide him to his seat. She turned quickly, trying to rush back toward the gate, but the doors were closed. "No, wait," she called, jogging back. "I just stepped away to help someone. I was right here." The agent gave her an apologetic look. "I'm sorry. The doors are sealed. Once closed, we can't reopen." "But I was next in line." "I understand, but we're on a very tight departure window. There's nothing I can do." Rena stood there, stunned. Just like that. She had missed her flight, all because she helped someone. She slumped onto a bench, her heart pounding. She texted her sister, explaining she'd missed the flight and would catch the next one. But even as she typed, her thoughts spun back to the message. Don't get on the flight. Who had sent that? Why? Her phone buzzed again. Good. Now leave the terminal. Her stomach dropped. What the hell was going on? She stood and walked toward the exit escalators, half-dazed, clutching her bag tightly. Her mind raced. Was this a warning? A coincidence? As she passed a nearby coffee kiosk, a man in a black leather jacket, mid-40s, clean-shaven, sharp eyes, looked up from his table. Their eyes met briefly. He gave her a small, almost imperceptible nod. She looked behind her. No one else seemed to notice. When she looked back, the man was gone. She picked up her pace. Back in the arrivals lounge, she sat down near a large pillar, hands shaking slightly. Another message came. Hyatt Airport Hotel, room 319, ask for Mr. Alden, she felt a sharp shiver. Her logical brain screamed at her to go home, to report this to airport security. But something deeper, a strange pull in her gut, kept her from walking away. Instead, she opened her browser and checked the news. She wasn't prepared for what she saw. Breaking news. Flight 268 declares emergency after technical failure. Smoke reported inside cabin. Emergency landing initiated. Details developing. She reread the headline, then once more. Her throat tightened. The plane she was supposed to be on, the plane that had just taken off, was now circling back due to an emergency failure. She imagined the old man, sitting quietly in his seat, unaware of what was happening. She imagined herself, her seatbelt fastened, heart pounding as oxygen masks dropped. She would have been there, but she wasn't, because someone told her not to get on that flight, and that same someone wanted her at a hotel room across the street. It took her 10 minutes to get to the Hyatt. She walked slowly, like someone emerging from a fog. She still wasn't sure why she was following these instructions. Maybe it was shock, maybe curiosity, maybe something bigger. The front desk attendant didn't ask questions. "Room 319, the woman said after Renner asked. "Yes, of course. He said you might come. Here's your key." She took the card silently and stepped into the elevator, heart racing. The carpet in the hallway smelled new. Everything felt too quiet. Room 319 was at the far end. She knocked once. The door opened almost immediately. "Renner," said the man. "Inside. Come in." He wasn't what she expected. No suit, no sunglasses, no armed bodyguards, just a middle-aged man in a grey sweater and dark jeans. Kind eyes, a cautious smile. "Who are you?" she asked. "My name's Alden. Please, have a seat. You're safe here." She stayed standing. "Why did you stop me from boarding that flight?" He sighed. "Because it wasn't safe, and because your being on it would have made things complicated. Complicated for who? For everyone involved. You're not making sense, I know. But I will. Give me 5 minutes." He gestured to a nearby table. On it sat a manila folder, a small black device that looked like a recorder, and an old photograph of a much younger man wearing military fatigues. The same face. It was the old man from the airport. "His name is Glenn Warwick," Alden said, "and until a few months ago we thought he was dead." Renner stared at the photo. Why would anyone fake his death? Because he used to run a defense tech firm that worked on weapons guidance systems. Some of what he knew could rewrite the balance of power in several countries. "And you're saying he was on that flight?" Alden nodded. "We were tracking him. Someone else was, too. That flight, it wasn't just a malfunction, it was a takedown." Renner sat slowly. "And I just walked into the middle of it?" "Exactly. Your act of kindness changed everything. You threw off their timing. Now they're scrambling, which means you're in danger too." Her head spun. "Why me?" "Because you were seen helping him, because you stood out, and because now you might be the only one he trusts." She stared at Alden, the room closing in. "And what do you want me to do?" He leaned in. "Disappear. For 48 hours, we'll take care of you. But if you go home, if you use your cards, if you go online, they'll find you. And if they think you know more than you do—" He didn't finish the sentence. Her phone buzzed. Another message. "Don't trust Alden." Her eyes snapped up. Alden noticed. "What is it?" She slowly turned the phone toward him. "Then, tell me, who's really watching me?" Renner sat frozen, her gaze locked on the glowing screen of her phone. The message stared back at her, cruel and unrelenting. "Don't trust Alden." Her heartbeat thundered in her ears. For a moment, the silence between them stretched like an endless void. Alden's eyes darkened, but his face remained calm. "You see," Renner whispered, her voice trembling, "you said you'd protect me. But someone else is watching, someone who doesn't want me to trust you." Alden rubbed his temples, then nodded slowly. "That message is why you need to disappear." Whoever's behind this is playing a dangerous game, and it's bigger than just Glenn Warwick. Why me? Why would they care about me helping that old man? Because, Alden said, you interrupted their plan. Glenn Warwick's presence on that flight wasn't a coincidence. He was carrying something that could change everything. Renner swallowed hard, struggling to absorb the weight of his words. What was he carrying? Alden reached for the manila folder on the table, flipping it open. Inside were grainy photos, flight manifests, and a series of scribbled notes. Classified documents, Alden explained. Technical blueprints for a new kind of defense system. Glenn was bringing them to a contact here in the city, but someone knew, and they wanted to stop him. Renner's mind spun. And the flight malfunction? That was sabotage? Alden nodded. A very precise attack designed to isolate him. And you think I was caught in the crossfire? Yes. Her phone vibrated again. We see you. We know where you are. Renner's eyes widened. She looked at Alden. We don't have much time, he said urgently. I'm going to get you out of here. They moved quickly through the hotel's back corridors, Alden leading Renner past the lobby and out into a narrow alley behind the building. The night air was sharp and cold, biting at her skin. Renner's heart raced as they ducked behind a dumpster. Where are we going? She asked breathlessly. Safe house, Alden replied. Safe? Where? A friend's place a few blocks away. It's secure, and we can figure out our next move. Renner hesitated, then nodded. As they crossed the street, a black sedan slowed beside them. Renner tensed. Two men in dark suits stared out the window. Alden pulled her into the shadows. The car sped away. Renner exhaled slowly. Who were they? Trouble, Alden said flatly. They arrived at a small brownstone hidden behind tall iron gates. Inside, the rooms were dimly lit but comfortable. Renner sank onto a worn leather couch, still trying to process everything. Tell me about Glenn Warwick, she said finally. Alden sat beside her, his voice softening. He was a brilliant engineer, a quiet man who believed in protecting people. After his military service, he founded a tech company focused on defense innovations. Renner nodded. Why fake his death? Because his work made powerful enemies. Corporations, governments. They all wanted his secrets. She looked down at her hands. And I just stumbled into this. You didn't stumble, Alden corrected. You helped a man who needed you. There was a knock on the door. A woman entered quietly, a sharp-eyed brunette with a no-nonsense air. This is Mara, Alden introduced her. She's a cybersecurity expert. She's been tracking the people after Glenn's work. Mara scanned the room, then looked directly at Renner. You've been followed since the airport, she said. Someone has access to advanced surveillance. They know your every move. Renner's stomach twisted. What do they want from me? Mara sighed. They think you have something Glenn left behind. Renner shook her head. I don't have anything. I just helped him with his bag. Mara studied her. Sometimes the smallest acts change everything. The next hours were a whirlwind. Mara worked on tracing the messages Renner had received. We can't trace the sender directly, Mara said, but we found something. She turned the laptop around. On the screen was a map of the airport, overlaid with heat signatures and movement patterns. They were tracking Glenn Warwick closely, Mara explained. And you. Renner's eyes filled with tears. This isn't just about Glenn, Alden said grimly. It's about what he was carrying and the people who want it back. Renner felt a heavy weight settle on her chest. Why did Glenn trust Alden? He was one of the few people who knew the full extent of the project, Alden replied, and when he realized the danger, he reached out to me. Renner glanced at the photo on the table again. Do you think Glenn knew he was in danger? We think he tried to escape. Suddenly, Mara's fingers froze over the keyboard. Wait, she said. There's an incoming signal. Alden leaned closer. The laptop beeped softly. A video file appeared. Mara clicked play. The screen flickered to life. A man's face filled the frame. It was Glenn. His eyes were tired but resolute. "Rena," he said, "if you're seeing this, then I'm in trouble. You helped me and I'm grateful, but they're after more than just me. There's something hidden, something I couldn't carry." He paused. "Trust Alden. Protect the package. It's in your hands now." The video ended. Rena's breath caught. "What package?" she whispered. Hours later, exhaustion overtook her. She curled up on the couch, thoughts swirling. The weight of responsibility settled on her shoulders like a stone. She had no choice but to trust Alden and Mara. They were the only ones who could help. But who was watching them? Who was sending the messages? And what was this package? Outside, shadows shifted. Eyes watched through darkened windows. The game had only just begun. Rena woke suddenly to a loud knock on the door. Her heart leapt into her throat. The safe house, quiet and dim just moments ago, now felt fragile and exposed. Alden motioned for silence, then moved toward the door. "Who is it?" he called. No answer. Another knock, harder this time. Rena's hands trembled. Mara was already by Alden's side, her eyes sharp and alert. "Stay back," Alden whispered. He peered through the peephole, then relaxed slightly. "It's a delivery guy." Rena exhaled. Though her nerves didn't fully settle, Alden opened the door cautiously. A young man in a plain uniform stood there, holding a small package. "Package for Alden," he said, handing it over. Alden took it, closing the door quickly. Rena looked at the small box. It was unmarked, wrapped in plain brown paper, taped securely. "Open it," Mara urged. Alden nodded, carefully tearing the tape. Inside was a small metal case, roughly the size of a book. Rena felt her breath catch. "Could this be the package Glenn mentioned?" she asked. Alden pulled out the case and opened it. Inside was a stack of encrypted drives, each labeled with strange symbols and numbers. "This is it," Alden said gravely. "Everything Glenn was protecting." Rena stared at the drives, unsure. What secrets they held. The following hours were tense. Mara set up a secure connection to start decoding the drives. "This will take time," she said, "but we'll find out what's inside." Rena paced the room, anxiety gnawing at her. Suddenly the phone buzzed again. "You won't live to see tomorrow." The message was chilling. Rena felt a cold sweat break out. She looked at Alden. "We need to move. Now." They packed quickly. Gathering essentials, Alden called a trusted driver to take them to a new location, a more secure hideout, far from prying eyes. The car was sleek and black, windows tinted. Rena sat in the back, heart pounding. Outside, the city lights blurred. The new location, a converted warehouse. Mara set up her equipment. "This place is off the grid," she explained. "No cameras, no trackers." Rena felt a flicker of relief. Hours passed as Mara worked tirelessly on the encrypted drives. Suddenly, her eyes widened. "I've cracked one," she announced. A video file appeared. The screen flickered, revealing a man in a dark room. His face was obscured by shadows. "You don't know me," he said, "but I know who you are." Rena leaned forward. The man continued. "Glenn Warwick's work has the power to change everything. I've been trying to stop those who want to use it for destruction." He paused. "But now the package is in your hands." The video cut abruptly. Rena's pulse quickened. "What did he mean?" she asked. Mara shook her head. "There's more to this than we thought." Suddenly, the warehouse doors burst open. Masked men stormed in, guns drawn. "Get down!" Alden shouted. Rena dropped to the floor, heart racing. Gunfire echoed. Mara ducked behind a table, shouting, "We need to protect the drives!" Rena crawled toward Alden. Alden grabbed her hand. "This way!" They dashed through a hidden door Mara revealed earlier, a narrow passage leading to the underground tunnels. The sounds of chaos faded behind them as they moved quickly. In the tunnels, Rena gasped for breath. "We're not safe yet," Alden warned. The walls were damp, the air thick. Rena's mind raced. Who were those men? Why were they willing to kill for these drives? After what felt like hours, they emerged into a quiet park. Rena looked up at the stars. For a moment, the weight of the night lifted, but the danger was far from over. "We need allies," Alden said. Rena nodded. "Who can we trust?" Alden smiled. Grimly. "Someone who owes Glenn a favor, someone powerful." Rena frowned. "Who?" Alden hesitated. "His brother. A man with influence." Rena's eyes widened. "Can we find him?" "We have to." The next day they arrived at a nondescript office building. Alden led them inside. They waited nervously. Finally, a tall man with sharp features entered. He looked at Rena with piercing eyes. "So, you're the woman who helped my brother," he said. Rena swallowed. "I didn't mean to get involved." He smiled slightly. Neither did he. But sometimes fate has other plans. He introduced himself as Marcus Warwick. "I've been tracking my brother's work," he said. "And the people trying to steal it." Rena glanced at Alden. Marcus continued, "We need to move fast. They're closer than you think." Days turned into a blur. Rena learned more about Glenn's project, a revolutionary system that could disrupt military communications worldwide. The more she learned, the more she realized the stakes. Her simple act of kindness had thrust her into a deadly game of power and secrets. One evening, as Rena rested, her phone buzzed again. "You're running out of time." She stared at the message. Her world had changed forever. Rena sat quietly in Marcus Warwick's office, the weight of the past days pressing down on her. The once simple woman who had missed a flight to help an old man now carried the burden of a secret that could change the world. The package, Glenn's hidden legacy, and the shadowy forces hunting them had brought her here, to the eye of a storm she never imagined facing. The stakes revealed. Marcus paced slowly, hands clasped behind his back. Glenn's project, he began, was more than just a defense system. It was a way to prevent wars by controlling communications globally. If it fell into the wrong hands, entire countries could be manipulated, or worse, destroyed. Rena's throat tightened. "And those men who attacked us?" "Agents working for powerful interests," Marcus said. "Corporations and governments who want control, no matter the cost." Alden, standing by the window, added, "They've been watching Glenn and anyone connected to him for years. They thought his death would end the threat." "But it didn't," Rena whispered. Marcus nodded grimly. "Because you're alive, and you have the drives. Trust and betrayal." Rena looked at Alden. "How do I know I can trust you?" Alden's gaze was steady. "Because I lost someone to this fight too. Glenn was my friend. I promised to protect his work." Rena's eyes filled with tears. "I never wanted any of this." "You didn't choose this," Marcus said softly. "But now you have a choice. Help us expose the truth, or let it fall into darkness." Rena took a deep breath. "I want to help." The plan. Marcus laid out a plan to broadcast Glenn's project to the world, making the secret public and impossible to hide. "We'll need to get to a secure broadcast station," Marcus explained. "But the enemies will try to stop us." Rena nodded, determination building inside her. "The chase begins." That night, they set out under the cover of darkness, moving through back streets and alleys to avoid detection. Their black van moved swiftly, the city's lights blurring past. Suddenly, headlights appeared behind them. Multiple vehicles. "Ambush," Alden warned. Rena gripped the edge of her seat as the vehicles closed in. A high-speed chase erupted. Narrow escape. The van swerved sharply, tires screeching on wet pavement. Gunshots rang out, shattering glass. Rena ducked as a bullet whizzed past. Marcus shouted directions, weaving through narrow streets. They took a sharp turn into a crowded market, disappearing into the chaos. Breathing heavily, Renner realized how close they had come to losing everything. The broadcast at last, they reached the station. Inside, technicians hurried to prepare the equipment. Renner watched the drives being loaded into a secure terminal. "This is it," Marcus said. Renner sat before the camera, her voice steady but emotional. "For days, I've been caught in a fight between power and truth. I never imagined a simple act of kindness would lead me here." She paused, tears shimmering in her eyes. "This secret belongs to all of us. Glenn Warwick gave his life so the world could be safe. Now you will know the truth." The revelation, the broadcast began. Encrypted files, blueprints, and Glenn's message streamed live. Across cities and countries, people stopped to watch. The secret no longer hidden. The power to control communications lay exposed. The aftermath, the broadcast triggered shockwaves worldwide. Governments scrambled to respond. Powerful corporations faced investigations. Renner, Alden, and Marcus went into hiding. Their lives forever changed. A new beginning. Months later, Renner stood by a quiet lake, reflecting. She held a letter from Alden. "You were the light in the darkness. Together, we changed everything." Renner smiled softly. Her life had been ordinary once, but now she was part of something greater, a story of courage, truth, and hope. The end.